we have a shocking show for you tonight. We have Lieutenant Skitters of Murgatroyd here tonight, and all of you know him from the Murgatroyd serial killer case on which he was the lead investigator. Lieutenant Skitters will be making some startling revelations tonight. Also, our guest tonight is Doreen Thompson, a blind woman who returned from Murgatroyd from France in the company of Lieutenant Skitters. Their story is frightening and incredible. Lieutenant Skitters tells us exactly what happened to the two of you that night.
Well, Les, first of all, I want to thank you very much for having us both here on the show. To some degree, it's at a certain level of risk that I'm doing this. I mean, the mayor's not happy, Senator Devane's not happy. Put it this way, we successfully escaped from Count Pedestrian's castle. I'm not making any of this up. If it had not happened to me personally, I wouldn't believe it myself. I was, in fact, held prisoner in the dungeon below Castle Pedestrian. I was, in fact, chained to the wall. And the serial killer, who apparently has, at this point in time, according to the French authorities at least, been slain by a samurai sword in some kind of samurai battle in a small village outside of Paris. Apparently, Eric Niedermeyer is, in fact, dead. But let me just say this. He came down into the dungeon while I was chained to the wall, laughed and mocked, and he was very definitely being harbored by Count Pedestrian, whom the French authorities will not touch. I went over there initially. Let me back up just a minute. My entire purpose for going over there, as you know, was after the DNA evidence and the photographic and visual evidence had come from the slaying of Blatson the artist atop the Eiffel Tower, unequivocally identifying the killer as a person that we believed at that point to have been dead. We later found out differently. Eric Niedermeyer, the Murgatroyd serial killer, had been identified as the killer of Blatson the artist. I flew from Murgatroyd to Paris, France, to help in the investigation with the French authorities. I got zero cooperation, no cooperation whatsoever. I simply was initially going to Count Pedestrian's castle for the intention of talking to him because I knew that Blatson the artist had lived here in a mansion that belonged to Count Pedestrian for some years. In fact, they had a close relationship of whatever kind for a period of time. Then there was a falling out of some kind. I'm sure most of you know this because Blatson had quite a mouth on him. And Blatson was evicted or kicked out of Count Pedestrian's mansion here in Murgatroyd. Well, as fate would have it and as time would have it, evidently, the Count allowed this character, this Eric Niedermeyer, whom we had believed I identified him at that wedding. Lest at your own wedding, whenever you and Imogene were getting married and the sniper shot Eric Niedermeyer, and he was apparently dead, and I identified him as being dead at the time, wasn't the case. Somehow, I don't know exactly how, Eric Niedermeyer survived that fatal gunshot at your wedding and was there in France, was staying in the castle of Count Pedestrian, and was down there in the dungeon laughing and mocking while I was chained to the wall. Count Pedestrian himself came down there with a bottle of wine, just having a great time that I was his prisoner. And, you know, it's the most appalling thing. Had it not been for this young blonde lady, Doreen, who accompanies me, having obtained the keys and having freed me at a point in time, should I say, that further down the road, after we had heard a news bulletin from the French authorities that Eric Niedermeyer had in fact been battle. He's still missing, but the French authorities, Lady Doreen here, will say abducted by Eric Niedermeyer. She was duped by him. She helped him here in Murgatroyd initially. She never with the she was aware of this. She did not learn this until they're in France, in a strange country, in a strange castle. Well, there you have it. And at any rate, we're back, we're alive, we're in one piece. It's been an experience for both of us, obviously. And because of certain diplomatic immunity that Count Pedestrian enjoys, it is impossible for the United States legal system to touch him. It was impossible for me to touch him. But I'm getting on the air now, and I want to announce this to the world at large. And I will do whatever is necessary to bring this monster, and I believe Count Pedestrian is a monster, to justice, not only for imprisoning me within a dungeon and allowing that to take place, but for allowing this Murgatroyd serial killer who claimed 22 victims right here in Murgatroyd, killed Blatson the artist, and has killed 2 young women in a village outside of Paris, France. 25 known victims at the very least, and we don't know what else hasn't been traced to this killer. And the assumption right now by the French authorities, at least the official story, is that he's dead. But anyway, Les, I'm glad to be here, and I thank Doreen for freeing me, and I'm going to, at this point, turn the show over to Doreen and to you and to anyone in the audience who might want to ask a question about all of this. Thank you very much, Les.